I was born in Iran in 1970 to a family of religion. Until I was 10, I attended a French non-religious school where girls and boys learned together. At this time in Iran, there was a religious revolt taking place called the Islamic Revolution. In 1980, I was sent to an all-girls school and separated from all of my friends at my old co-ed school. No boys allowed at this school. There was this thing called the veil that everyone was all obsessed with all of a sudden. We girls were told to wear the veil at all times. No choice. It was required. We thought up so many excuses as to why we shouldn't have to wear it, but nothing changed. I honestly didn't know what to think about it. Part of me, the religious part, was for the idea of going all out with religion. But the other part, the modern side of me, did not want to be forced into my religion. In 1976, when I was 6 years old, I wanted to be the first female prophet. Everyone I told disapproved of my dream, so I went to the only person who accepted me. I talked to God. My parents bought me books about the revolution going on in Iran and talked to me about the politics of the world. I knew everything there was to know about my country. People were constantly being tortured, attacked, and killed. These massacres were blamed on the Shah, the leader of Iran. I desperately wanted to go to a political demonstration on the streets with my parents to represent what I believed in. My parents wouldn't let me. I thought God had deserted me. I learned that my grandpa had been a prince once. When my grandpa was overthrown and arrested, my mother's family had it hard. My grandma had to provide for the family alone, with 3 children to take care of. I asked Grandma about Grandpa, but she didn't seem to want to talk about it. My father took photos of the demonstrations every day, which was strictly forbidden. One day, he was very late in getting home, and my mother, Grandma, and I were concerned for his safety. I thought he might have even been dead. Finally, he came home, and we thanked the Lord. Iran was dangerous and politically unstable during this time. The Shah was quickly losing support. When the Shah was thrown out, all memories of him were erased. After the Shah was thrown out, life at home and at school completely changed. I clearly remembered my teacher telling us that the Shah had been chosen by God, but when I reminded her in class, I was punished severely. All of a sudden, all memories of the Shah were hidden, and everyone acted as if he had never existed. The whole topic was off limits. One of my dreams had always been to have a hero in my family. My wish came true when I got to meet my uncle Anush. He had so many interesting stories to tell me of his travels, his experiences. I finally had a hero in my family. Naturally, I loved him instantly. Uncle Anush told me stories every night. He told me that he ran away from home after his father disowned him for his political beliefs. He told me that he scratched his wife's head out of a family photo because they had been divorced and she was no longer part of the family. My uncle told me of the 9 years he had spent in jail for acquiring a fake passport and going into exile. I loved spending time with my uncle. As the revolution and the republic continued to be in conflict, I learned of neighbors and friends, including the boy I liked, who were moving to America because they felt as if it was impossible to live under an Islamic regime. My heart was broken. There were certain gender image rules that we were supposed to follow as a country, but my father, my mother, and I pushed the limits a bit. My father not having a full-grown beard, and my mother showing bits of her hair out of her veil. I learned that my uncle had been arrested a second time, to which I was terribly saddened. My father suggested I go visit him, and I happily agreed. At the jail, my uncle told me that I was the daughter he never had, the star of his life. That was the last time I spoke to him before he was executed. As the war and bombings continued, grocery stores began to empty out and people had to fight for food. People spat upon their own kind in disgust. I was ashamed of my country. When my grandma informed my family that Iran was at war, I was ready to fight. Because I went to a religious school, my friends and I were forced to participate in self-torture, or beating our chests with our fists, and decorating for political anniversaries. Of course, these practices got old eventually, and we were punished when we made fun of them. Shahab, a cousin of mine who was serving in the military, came to visit and told us what was going on at the war front. Boys at the ages of 14, some even younger, were brainwashed and lied to and were forced to serve at extremely young ages in the war. Because of nosy neighbors and possible bombs that could shatter the glass in our windows, my mother put black masking tape on the windows and black curtains to cover from the neighbors' prying eyes. There was a never-ending list of items that we are not allowed to have in the house, such as cassette tapes, alcohol, parties, magazines, and posters. Of course, my family, being rebellious like we are, used all of them anyway. However, we had to go through great measures to get these items. My mother and father brought me an outfit back from Turkey that I decided to wear out. Of course, knowing me, a pair of Guardians of the Revolution caught me in my new clothes, and I barely escaped. One day, I was shopping with my friend Shadi when we heard a loud boom. I was told that the boom had come from an area by my house. I was terrified that my parents might not be okay. I was praying that they would still be alive when I saw my mother calling my name. A huge sense of relief passed over me. About 1 week later, my parents told me that they wanted me to move to Austria. They thought that it would be a good experience for me and that I would be safer and happier there. But they would not be going with me. I packed my bags and got ready to move. Saying goodbye to them was hard, one of the hardest things I've ever done. What I had feared was true. Maybe they'd come to visit, but we'd never live together again. Saying goodbye to them felt like dying. When I got inside, I looked back. I shouldn't have.